Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everyone out there. Here we are with Derek at the Global Empowerment Summit. And we have a little echo, so I will mute you first, Derek, just until we are getting aligned. So here we are with Derek, and Derek is my dear friend, being with us for the second year at the Global Empowerment Summit, and all what I learned about LinkedIn is from him. He was supporting me in the background, and all my 5,600 followers is because of him, because I'm following his advice. So I invited him because this week is all about the youth. You remember the title, The Young and the Wise Be Brought Together. So we would like to focus on the youth, how they can utilize LinkedIn. So let's just get started with some personal introduction, Derek. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your favorite color? Do you like to swim? What's your favorite place in the world?
Hello, Andrea, and everybody. It's a pleasure to be here, and great to see all the amazing things that you're doing with this summit. So my congratulations to you. My favorite color would have to be red. My favorite sport would have to be Kyokushin Karate, of which I'm a 3rd degree black belt in, although I retired at that last year. I trained at that for just over 21 years. What was the third question that you asked me? What's my favorite
place in the world?
Favorite place in the world? Well, probably the one place in the world that I would really love to travel to, which I have not been to yet, is a place in Northern California called Lake Tahoe. And I've seen some amazing pictures and video of it online, and it just looks absolutely stunning. So I would love to go there. It's basically a huge lake that's surrounded by about 4 or 5 ski resorts. And I would love to spend some time there in the middle of the winter, in the snow, of course, and then also in the middle of summer. So that's probably my #1 destination that I would like to travel to at some stage.
That's beautiful. So you have a bucket list already starting, and you can put it together.
Absolutely. The biggest problem with my bucket list is it's continuously growing.
I know that. I'm like doing the to-do list for the summit in a little book, and I'm like saying yesterday, oh, I have 23 things to do today.
Yes.
And these are not very small tasks. So.
Yep. Know the feeling. Those things to do lists, it's easier to break them up a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. Break it into small bits. But I'm also just concentrating one day at a time. So otherwise we couldn't manage this. So Lake Tahoe, beautiful, beautiful place. Let's see how it is. I will look it up after we talk.
Look it up. I think you'll really be amazed by it. It's just a stunningly beautiful place.
I will check it out. So Derek, let's just check out what is your professional background. I was telling a little bit about you, that you were helping me with my LinkedIn profile, and you are actually focusing on LinkedIn. But tell us a little bit more about what you do, who is your audience, who you are working with, and why LinkedIn?
Okay. Well, basically, I'm a social media coach, and I specialize in both Facebook and LinkedIn. My primary focus is on LinkedIn. Now, my journey with LinkedIn started way back in 2004, officially started back then when I first opened up my LinkedIn account. And I was actually one of the first 2 million people to become a subscriber and open up an account to LinkedIn. However, I did very little with it for about 10 years. And then what literally happened was a friend of mine, she said to me that she had just heard LinkedIn described as the professional or business version of Facebook. And I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. Maybe I should have another look at that. And so I found my old original login details, and my account was still there. And I opened up my account and discovered that I had a lowly 207 connections. So it was 2014 where my real journey on LinkedIn began. And what I was doing back then, I was building websites for people and search optimization to get them onto Google. And I was guaranteeing people to get them onto page 1 on Google. And so what I did was, over the next 4 or 5 years, all of my website business came from LinkedIn. Okay. And one of the things that I did when I first logged back in 2014, I started looking around for people that I could see who were doing reasonably well on the platform, who you could tell they were getting some interaction with their content. They had a reasonable looking profile, and it was obviously working for them. And I just started mirroring, I just started modeling some of the things that they were doing. One of the things that was working very well back then was writing articles. And so I would write usually 1 or 2 articles a week, and I would publish those on LinkedIn. And then what literally happened was I would get some likes and I would get some comments on those articles. And then the next thing I knew, I started getting inquiries inside my inbox on LinkedIn. And so people would be asking for a phone call with me. And so I'd get on the phone to them and I'd naturally ask them, do you mind if I ask you where you heard about me from? And they said, oh, we've been following your articles on LinkedIn. And so I'd look at the articles, and some of these people had liked and commented. Other people hadn't. Other people are just sort of watching me in the background. And I thought, that's interesting. And so what was literally happening was each time I published an article, I was basically establishing, building and nurturing the relationship with my audience. I was building up on that know, like and trust factor. And basically it became the easiest business that I had ever done because the trust factor was already there. And all I literally had to do was basically give them a quote that was within their price expectations, within their price range. And that's when I realized the potential of LinkedIn. And over the years, it did amazing things for me. I got a lot of business out of it. But I also realized that there were some parts of the platform that were a challenge for people to come to grips with or to get to grips with. It was a challenge in some areas for people to understand or to figure out what to do, okay? How to optimize your LinkedIn profile. What should you say in your headline? What should you say in your banner, etc.? What should you say in your about section or summary section, as it was called back then? Your experience sections, etc. What else could you do to your profile to make it stand out? These were all things that I started figuring out over time. And so I started to put together a LinkedIn course. And that's basically led me to where I am today. I now coach people about LinkedIn. I consult to people about it. I train people about it. And then I also do very similar things with Facebook also.
That's a beautiful journey, actually. It's like also telling to the people that, you know, don't be afraid to start something new. When you see that it's working, then you just go for it, right? And you are
exactly.
retraining yourself. You are just starting something totally new. And doesn't matter how old you are, what are you doing, who were you before. You just figure out that people need it and you can provide a solution, then just go for it.
Exactly. And look, like all of us, we're all human. So we're all going to make mistakes or errors along the way. It's just a matter of learning from those mistakes and changing the approach and trying something different until you start to achieve the outcomes that you're looking for.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful story. I love the story and the message behind. So please, audience, take this message as just be free to do whatever is working. If you have a solution for some problems, then please just go with that. You will enjoy the process just like Derek does. Okay, so today we are focusing on the youth, and we were thinking about giving some tips for the youth, how they can utilize LinkedIn the best. I have a lot of young people coming around and they are asking, should I be on LinkedIn? Should I do something on LinkedIn? What should I do there? How can I utilize it? So what is the first thing? Why do you think the youth should be there on LinkedIn?
Okay, let me answer that question in 2 parts. First of all, a couple of ways that I describe LinkedIn. Number one, to me, it is the world's largest database of businesses, their owners, and their employees. Okay. And so when you think about that from a job seeker's point of view, somebody who's just graduating high school or somebody who's just graduating college or university and you want to go out and find yourself a job, what does LinkedIn mean for you? Very simple. Your LinkedIn profile can have everything on it to complement your resume. Okay. So obviously your resume, you can't have it too long, otherwise it won't get read, or it winds up to the bottom of the pile because it's just too much for the HR department to go through. So you can have a short, concise, straight to the point resume. 3 pages, I believe, is the recommended limit for a resume, but I may be mistaken on that. But your LinkedIn profile, you can have as much information on there as you like. And so from your resume, you can guide people to find out more information about you on or via your LinkedIn profile.
This is the first thing, right? That they can do. Like they can already follow some companies that they would like to work for. They can check what they are doing. They can see whether they are resonating with the message, and they can also put their digital resume, so-called, under their about field, and they can be present and found by HR professionals, right, who are searching for interns and so on. So if you are a young person, your goal on LinkedIn is these two things, then what are the steps or tools that you have to fix first? What are the things on your profile that has to be nice? What would be the first step?
Great question. The really important part when it comes to your profile is when somebody wants to know more about you and they open up your profile, what are they going to see? Okay. Ultimately, what are they going to see that's going to entice them, that's going to encourage them to want to read further, to want to know more about you, and ultimately to want to reach out and get in touch? And that starts from the top down. So you start with your banner image. Make sure you've got a banner image, and ultimately try to include a key benefit statement aimed towards your target audience in your banner image. Okay, so your entire profile, even though it's your profile, I actually recommend it should be written along the lines of what's in it for them, what's in it for your target audience. And this is for people in business, but also people who are job seekers or in job search. Okay, what's in it for your target audience? Because you're trying to entice that HR department, that potential employer, to read further, to want to know more about you. So when they're reading about what's in it for them, then that helps to increase that interest. So start with your banner image. Try to include a key benefit statement aimed towards your target audience. And there's a couple of platforms that you can use to build yourself your banner image. One of them is called canva.com, which most people already know. It's a great platform, and the dimensions are 1584 by 396 pixels. The other platform that you can use to build yourself a great banner image is called snappa.com. That's snappa.com. I used Canva for many years, still do occasionally. I love the platform. It's a great platform. I switched over to Snappa because it allows me to download a high-res image. And so that can make all the difference. And you can do some pretty creative things these days, creating a banner image for yourself. So that would be number one. The next point would be make sure you've got a good, clean, attractive, and appealing face pic. I do a lot of coaching and consulting to people about their LinkedIn profiles. I see some good face pics. I see some terrible face pics, and I see everything in between. Okay. Now there's a website out there called photofeeler.com. And this is where you can actually test your face pic, because face pics are a little bit of a challenge. Sometimes it's hard to figure out, is this the best face pic for you to use? So upload your face pic, your shortlisted face pic, to photofeeler.com, and members of the public will actually vote on it, and they'll give you some feedback on it. So it's valuable information when you're trying to figure out, is that the right or the best face pic for you to use? And then the next point would be your headline. Make sure that you've got a decent headline in there that defines who you are, what you're good at, who you would like to work with, the types of companies that you would like to work with, the types of job that you're looking for, the benefits that you can provide, what you're passionate about, etc. And now with the headline, you've got 220 characters, which is basically 4 lines. So you can fit a lot in those 4 lines that gives a good impression to your target audience about what you're all about. And then that's just getting them to start to read further. Okay, so the rest of your profile, you've got things like your featured section, where you can have links to some of your more popular posts. You might have social proof in there, references, testimonials. You can also have videos in there, PDFs, images, basically anything that you like in your featured section. And that is something that really helps your profile to stand out, is to have an eye-catching and appealing featured section. Then you've got your about section. In your about section, you've got 2,600 characters to use. So I highly recommend that you use as many of those as possible. And importantly, with your about section and your contact details, make sure you include your contact details, okay? Because there are two sections you can do this. At the end of your about section, add your contact details, but also in your actual contact part of your LinkedIn profile, make sure you got your contact details in there. You want to make it as easy as possible for people to be able to reach out and contact you just after they've read about what it is that you're interested in, what you're good at, what you're passionate about, etc.
I saw a very interesting feature also on the picture itself that you have, your profile picture. It was, I saw people doing videos, and it was switching between the profile picture and the video. So how do they do that?
You do that via your mobile phone, and I haven't done mine yet.
I was just seeing this yesterday, and I was like, wow, that's a nice thing, because it makes the profile a bit more lively when you see, and then it stops your attention. Oh, someone is moving in the little circle. It was really, really nice.
It's a new feature that's just come out in the last couple of months, and it's a great idea. It really is, and it's all done via your mobile phone. So basically, you just record a short video of yourself. I think it's up to a minute long, and then you just add that to your face pic section on your LinkedIn profile.
Very nice. So we fixed the header, we fixed the features, we fixed the about section, and we talked about the profile picture, that it should be appealing and nice quality. And you gave us a few tools like Canva, Snappa, and the photo filler, right? These were the three different tools. So we look already nice, at least the top of the about field and the top of the profile. So how we go further after we look nice? How do we fill out the CV part, the resume part, like where you were working, certification? How can youth fill that part up if they don't really have so much, experience yet? So what should they write in that section?
Okay, first things first, make sure you've got a completed profile. So that covers your entire profile, including your about section and your experience section. And what you're aiming for is the all-star rating. Okay, so LinkedIn will actually give you a rating on how complete your profile is. And so also with your profile, at the base of your experience sections, try to add some media. Okay, because that just makes your profile that much more interesting to the viewer, to the reader of your profile. Now, that media can be videos linked over from your YouTube channel if you have one. It can be videos uploaded directly. It can be images, certificates, that kind of thing. It can be PDFs, PowerPoints, basically anything that you like. And it just makes your profile that much more interesting to the viewer, to the reader. So once you've got your profile to the level of all-star, then the next thing that you want to do is get comfortable with the jobs section within LinkedIn, and in particular the ATS, and that's where you fill out all your resume details. And it's just a matter of working your way through it and completing as much of that as possible. But importantly, make sure that your profile is complete, because that's one of the areas that people are going to look at when they want to know more about you.
Perfect. So we have basically a picture about who are we, what we are doing, what are we aiming for. And now comes the part, I guess, when you are starting to be active. You have your profile on, it's having the basics. So what's the first step in being active? Posting or connecting? What would you start with?
Okay, let me put it to you this way. One of the things that people are going to look at when they receive your request to connect is some people will look at your content. Okay, and so they look at that as a reason that you are hopefully giving them to want to connect with you. So obviously the answer is start posting. Okay, and post anything that's of interest to you. That's the key. Post anything that's of interest to you. Ultimately, the best content, the best posts that you can put up is posts that add value without selling to your audience. Okay, and that's the key. Those are 4 magic words when it comes to LinkedIn, is to add value without selling. So then once you've got a little bit of a history of posting, then you can start to reach out and connect to people. Try to always send them a personalized request to connect message. In other words, include a little note with that. You've got 300 characters to use in there. So I highly recommend that you send people a small message, give people a reason to connect with you. Tell them why you want to connect with them. Check out their profile. Look for some mutual areas of interest. I see we went to the same college together, or I see we follow the same sporting team, football team, or whatever it might be. Mention that in your initial request to connect, and just be nice about it. Just say, I thought I'd reach out and invite you to connect. If not, no problem. But if so, that would be great. Regards from whatever your name is, etc. So send those requests to connect. Now you're only allowed to send out 100 requests to connect per week, and you get a credit for each one that accepts. Okay, so don't go too crazy with it, otherwise LinkedIn will actually put restrictions on your account, and you don't want that. And yeah, just start connecting with people. With regards to finding your next job or your dream job, so to speak, if there's a particular company that you would like to work for, then go to that company's company page on LinkedIn and start liking and commenting on their content, so that when you actually apply for a job with them, you can then mention that you've been following their content on their company page for a period of time, and you can actually point that out to them. Okay, so you're actually supporting that company on LinkedIn. So that always helps. And then if there's particular, obviously there's going to be particular people that will interview you. If they're posting content on LinkedIn, interact, like and comment on their own content as well. So that also helps to support them. Also helps to keep you top of mind and show that you're genuine about your interest for working with that particular company.
I remember you can also see who is working in that company. Like you can figure the people who are working there. So you can also follow those people, right? Who are working at that company and starting to like their comments so that they know your name. So when you send your CV, most probably they already saw it 7 times. You know, this kind of physical, psychological thing that you have to show yourself 7 times so that they remember you. So
yep, absolutely.
Something that you can do. It brought up in my mind another question, like the young people, they are, you know, sometimes too afraid, especially here in Asia. They are a little bit more afraid to ask senior people, experienced people, and they are also afraid to ask questions or ask for connections or you know, just reach out. So what would be your tip? I wanted to ask you, have you ever had a bad experience when you tried to connect someone, so that we just, you know, we just crush this fear away that it's okay to connect people?
All right. What's the best way I can answer this? I'm going to tell you a bit of a story, if I may. And I think the young people out there will relate to this. I was 21 years old, and I jumped on a plane to go and travel the world. And my first stop was to the US. I spent 6 weeks in California, Los Angeles, and then I flew to Denver, Colorado to spend 3.5 months with my uncle and auntie at the time. My uncle by marriage, he was. And I'd never met this uncle before. And he taught me what wound up to be the most important lesson of my life, which is what I'm going to share with you today. And at 21 years old, I was like a lot of young people out there, just wanted to enjoy myself, didn't want to upset anybody, just wanted to have a good time, make some friends, enjoy my life kind of thing. And in the middle of a conversation one night, he came out with this comment where he said, tell me, you're a reasonably intelligent person. Do you make mistakes very often? And I said, no, I don't think so. Why? And he said, you just made a big one. I said, oh, what's that? And he said, you just mistook me for somebody who actually gives a damn about what you think. And I thought, ooh, and it made me feel about this big. Okay, it made me feel really small being on the receiving end of that. And during the 3.5 months I was there staying with them, I was on the receiving end of this comment about 6 times. And I didn't realize it at the time, the lesson that he was trying to teach me. Okay. And this is why I'm sharing this with the audience. And the lesson that he was trying to teach me was not to worry too much about what other people thought. Okay. And what literally happened was I took this on board, and years later, as it turned out, that lesson actually hit home, and I realized what he was trying to teach me, and also realized when it hit home that was turned out to be the most important lesson that I've ever learned in my life. And the reason for that is we're all human. We're all going to make mistakes. Okay. You're going to reach out and try to connect with somebody who's not going to connect with you. Okay. They're just going to delete your request to connect. Okay. It happens. Don't worry about it. Just move on to the next. Okay. You might send a message to somebody and they might not like your message. Okay. That's fine. Just think about what the next person thinks about your message. If you get somebody who doesn't like your message, don't worry about it. Just think about what the next person thinks about your message. Okay. I post every day, and every day I would have somebody, particularly with some of the polls that I put up, I would have somebody who didn't like my message or comment or didn't like my poll or something like that. And you literally just take it on your chin and try not to take it personally. That's the hard part. And when you're younger, I think that's harder. Okay. But eventually you toughen up a little bit. You learn to push things aside. You learn to not take things so personally, not to worry about things so much. And just basically don't let it worry you. Just move on to the next. And unfortunately, sadly, there are grumpy people out there. Okay. So don't worry about them. Just move on to the next.
That's so true. Sometimes you are just meeting with people who are not in their best mood. Life is going, so everyone has different days, so don't worry about it. Maybe at a peaceful day they will come back to you and say, or even like, sorry for that that I was grumpy. So just do it, as just like Derek said, it's worth to reach out, because the worst thing can happen, just as we mentioned, is that they don't come back to you, but you can still go to other people, and you will still have people who are coming back to you. So it's a really good message here. The next thing I wanted to ask you is about the content itself. Today, LinkedIn is changing. There are a lot of things that are not just about professional, and I see that some people are especially concentrating on only niching down on their profession and only posting things which are bringing them customers, and it's only about one of their emphasized service, for example, and every time any content that they post is about that one thing. And other people in the same time getting famous and getting millions of followers by posting videos of dogs and cats and anything and inspiring thoughts, formulating a funny movie into an inspiring, motivational kind of like aspect, and people love that. So it's becoming more like a lifestyle kind of mixed with profession platform, where people can share about their own journal, basically what's happening to them. So what is working? Why is it changing? How could we choose what style to go with?
What they should post, what people should post. Look, I have friends who post animal videos. Okay. I have one very close friend who does a lot of it. She loves animals. She actually has a hashtag, which is Zarin Loves Animals or Zarin Loves Creatures. And she's also got very close to 1 million followers. Okay. Now, one of the things that has gained her that following is the videos that she puts up. People love those videos. They're a bright part of their day. Okay. And that's okay. Other people prefer to be more on point. And what I mean by that is they want to put up content that is more targeted towards their particular niche, their target audience, or a particular type of message they want to put across. And that's okay. It's a matter of finding what works for you, what you're comfortable with. And more importantly, to try to be a little bit strategic about it. And what I mean by that is to think ahead to work out a little bit of a content plan so that you know what you're posting in 3 or 4 days time. And more importantly, be consistent with it. Okay. And I think probably the best message that I can provide to you is don't worry too much about the numbers or the vanity metrics, as they're called. And the reason that I say that is the numbers, they're exciting. Okay, the numbers of likes you can get on a post, the numbers of comments that you can get, the numbers of views. And then when you have a post that does really well, yes, it's exciting. Okay. But what you will also find is that some posts do better than others. And sometimes I've seen some people say, I figured it out. I know how to make this post take off and do extremely well. And the next person that puts up absolutely bombs. So the best thing is just to be consistent with your content. Don't try to figure out ways around it or anything. Yes, the numbers are exciting, but don't focus too much on those. More importantly, use your content as a way to build on your connection with your audience. So reply to the comments, for example. And when you're doing that, you start to build on your relationship with your audience as well.
And for the youth also, something can be interesting, like there are ways that people say that LinkedIn is all about connecting. And you say also that you have to connect, you have to interact and all these things. And sometimes I realize that when I'm not connecting with other people's posts and I'm not commenting under those posts, I'm losing some kind of traction. So my posts are not getting so many likes and so and so. So what is the algorithm behind this? Why is LinkedIn pushing more when you are interacting with others in the comments? Do they try to build up a community, or it's kind of like their priority to connect people?
Okay, that's a great question. Yes, LinkedIn is about connecting, and that doesn't necessarily mean about building up your connections, your numbers of connections. What that really relates to is building the connection, building on the relationship that you have with your particular target audience, whether they're an actual connection of yours or not. And one way that you do that is with your content, okay, by commenting on content, okay, replying to their comments and also commenting on other people's content. One of the ways that the LinkedIn algorithm works is, and also I understand that LinkedIn will come out with updates to the algorithm. I believe there was one just last month, but they won't tell everybody about it. People will just notice that things are working a little bit differently. And so then they'll start to ask questions amongst themselves. There are groups out there where people get together and they talk about it, etc. And they'll figure out, oh, okay, there's been an algorithm update. So one of the things that the LinkedIn algorithm does is it wants people to interact with other people's content. Okay. So if you like and comment, especially on other people's content for 20 minutes, let's say, before you post, LinkedIn will reward you when you post by pushing your post out to a larger audience. Okay. And if you want to be really smart about it, like and comment on the content of people within your target audience, specific people who you're trying to build your relationship with. Okay. And that helps keep the platform more authentic. It helps people build on their connections with their actual connections or their followers or their target audience, whoever the case may be. And it helps them to build on those relationships with them.
So in the case of the youth, it would be like, okay, I love this and this and this company.
Yep.
I will connect with this and this and these people. I will follow them. And before I post, for example, 10 a.m. in the morning, I will go on those people's profiles and I'm checking what they were posted and I'm going through it for 20 minutes and I put a lot of comments, but not just like I love, I like, but like something with value in it, right?
Yes.
And then it's a longer comment. I spend
Exactly.
with that 20 minutes. And then after I move to my own profile and I'm posting my post and that will be pushed by LinkedIn, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so hope that helps you guys and you can try this. And whoever is watching us now or will watch this video, please make sure that you're connecting with Derek. He gave me a lot of help and he has a lot of wisdom. So if you are a young person who would like to build up your LinkedIn profile, please reach out to him on LinkedIn, and you will see that just write GES 221 in your connection request, and I'm sure that he will accept, and he will just help you with this. So let's go further. I have two more things that I want to ask first. First of them is the LinkedIn Live. Because I know that everyone is fighting for it. I'm asking for it for so many times and couldn't get it yet. So it's like kind of like a hard nut to crack now, because everyone wants it, of course, because it also can help your profile to build up. So what is the secret of getting LinkedIn Live? How can the young people benefit from it? Should they do some? Because I never saw young people doing interviews or going, on a live session on LinkedIn. What's the secret of these lives?
That's a really good question, because I actually don't have LinkedIn Live. Here's what I can tell you. Some people that I know who do have it have refused to give up, and they have applied for it up to 10 times. Okay, they've refused to give up. They just keep on applying, and they change their approach each time they apply. The other thing that I also know is that the people who are approving or authorizing the LinkedIn Live use by people on LinkedIn, they have a specific criteria. There's a specific audience or type of people that they're looking for. Okay, and I know people who've actually been told, sorry, you don't meet our criteria. So I guess the real question would come back to, okay, why do you want or why do you need LinkedIn Live? And more importantly, if you had it, what would you do with it? Okay, is it just something that you're going to have and use occasionally, or is it something you're going to use on a weekly basis, or what are you actually going to use it for? Okay, and so those would be some of the questions that you would ask yourself. And then the other thing too is okay, let's say you get knocked back. Let's say you don't get LinkedIn Live. Okay, what are you going to do instead? Okay, you could use this particular platform, StreamYard. You could use Zoom, for example. There's plenty of other platforms that you could use. Facebook even have live. So there's different platforms that you can use if you cannot get hold of LinkedIn Live.
If I would like to post like videos, and the youth maybe has a lot of ideas because they're so creative nowadays. We know that the links outside LinkedIn are not really favored on LinkedIn. Like every other social media profile, they love to keep the people on their own platform, so they don't encourage posting outside links. Like sometimes I put the YouTube link because I don't have the live, so I'm posting it, and it gets less traction. So how you can go around this? How can you create a video content, and how can you post it on LinkedIn? What are the tips for this?
Okay, number one, understand that LinkedIn, also Facebook, both of them want to keep you, the audience, on their platform for as long as possible. Okay, and so anytime you put up a post that has an external link on it, especially if it's got a link to Facebook or YouTube, which are competitors, LinkedIn is going to reduce the reach of that post. Okay, so what you can do instead is try to upload the video organically or directly to LinkedIn. Okay, now if you want to download a video directly from YouTube, there's ways you can do that. You can have a paid YouTube account, or you can use a little program that I've used for years called DVD VideoSoft Free YouTube Downloader. Okay, and so I can download a clip from YouTube, I can store it on my PC, I can then upload it to LinkedIn to use as a post. Now, one thing that you should always do if you do that, because you're using somebody else's content, is the very first comment should always be a reference to the original author or creator of that content. And what you literally do is you say, here's the link to the original. You put the original in the actual comments. Okay, and so by doing that, what you occasionally see on LinkedIn is people will say link in the comments below. Okay, and that's how they work around that algorithm, which reduces the reach of that post if it's got a direct link in it. If the link is in the comments, the reach of that post is not reduced anywhere near as much as if the link was the main part of the post. Okay, so that's one way of working around it that way.
That's a good tip, and actually I wanted to also talk about the copyright issues and all the different things that we have. Like, you have to make sure that you are acknowledging the original. That's something that already Derek mentioned, and also watch out with the music. If you are using music, of course the copyright is still here, and it's not good to infringe all these things.
Let me put it to you this way in no uncertain terms. If you take somebody else's created content, regardless of what it is, you take somebody's video from YouTube, you download it, and then you upload it, and you post it on LinkedIn. If you don't reference the original author or creator of that content, you can actually be sued. Okay, yeah. They can take you to court over it, because you're basically using their content to promote yourself. But if you put a link in the comments that says, here's the link to the original or something like that, then what you're literally doing is you're doing that person a favor, because you're exposing their content to your audience, a wider audience. Okay, so you're doing the right thing by them by doing it that particular way.
And here comes the other thing also about sharing content. So before, I believe it was good to share other people's content on your profile. And okay, 2 questions. I'm just thinking too fast. So first of all, sharing other people's content on your own profile by referring them or tagging them. That's the first thing. And the second thing is sharing other people's content on your page or company page, which is totally different. So which one works better, and what would be your suggestion, which to choose?
Over the years, there have been a lot of variety in the strategies when it comes to sharing other people's content. Okay, and there's been a lot of different points of view about it. So one of the things, or one of the ways that I look at it is, if somebody shares my content, I will thank them for sharing that content. Okay, and sometimes that's the first comment that they actually get on it, because I get a notification that such and such has just shared my latest post, so I will immediately go to their post and say, thank you kindly for sharing my post, I appreciate it, something like that. And so then that makes the person feel appreciated and possibly more inclined to want to share that or share more of my content in the future. It's just a nice way of treating people. The other thing is, when it comes to actually sharing content, I basically only share content that I really like, that really grabs me or impresses me, and I think myself, oh, I really like that, yeah, I'll share that. And I'll give it a little bit of an intro, saying I came across this is why I like it so much, this is why I thought you'd be interested in it, and why I'm sharing it with you. So personally, unless it's specific content related to me, I wouldn't share it on or save it on my profile. And when it comes to actually sharing other people's content, I think just make reference to it in the intro, as to tell people why you're actually sharing it. I think that's important. So yeah, I hope that covers it.
So explaining why you are using it, what is the thing that you relate with, what is resonating with you, and then explaining a little bit, not just sharing without any explanation, right? And trying to, connect it with you and why you are there on LinkedIn, basically, and why you share this one. Okay, perfect. So for the youth, back to the youth again. Okay, they have their profile, they have a beautiful LinkedIn page already up, like profile is perfect. They started to communicate, they were reaching out, they are networking already, they are sharing content. How to keep the motivation up, how to, find new things to share? What are the best things, or what are the variation of types of posts that they can post daily, so that it's not becoming too boring for the audience?
Okay. One of the things that differentiates or separates LinkedIn from Facebook is the community that people find on LinkedIn. Okay. It's a very authentic, it's a very genuine community. And I've said many times over the years, and I'll continue to say, you will meet people on LinkedIn who will become good friends of yours, people who will quite possibly become friends for life, okay, because of the type of community that it is. And so one of the things that I would suggest to, especially to the youth of today, is go on LinkedIn and ask people some questions. Put up a post that actually asks a question. In the last several months, polls have taken off. Polls have exploded. Okay, and the reason that polls have exploded is because they ask people questions and they invite that interaction and they give people some options towards their answers or to further elaborate in the comments below. Okay, so put up a post that asks people questions. And I think you'll be surprised at the interaction you get in return, the people that you start to build relationships, friendships, connections, conversations with during that journey, that process.
Beautiful. So use the power of questions. And I know that the young people are so curious. And it was really nice to see that during the Global Empowerment Summit, we had some rooms open where people could ask freely questions. And it was really nice to see that the youth has a specific way of being hungry for knowledge. And I feel there is a gap between the young generation and the older generation. And there is just something in between. So it would be nice to break that wall down and make it possible again for them to converse because they want to ask. It's maybe the fear, maybe the respect that they are not so brave to ask these questions.
Let me put it to you this way. There's a saying which is the art of conversation is to ask questions and listen. Okay, so in other words, to get a conversation started, you ask questions and listen to the answer. Okay, another saying is the 6 smartest people in the world, their names start with who, what, when, where, why, and how. So in other words, that's what you start your sentences with: who, what, when, where, why, or how. Okay, and then also understand that if you're in a room and you're the smartest person in the room, okay, that's not the room you want to be in. Okay, because it's not a room you're going to learn much in. Okay, what you want is a smarter room. You want a room full of some people who are going to inspire you, interest you, motivate you, and it's that room full of those inspirational, motivating, and interesting people that you can start to ask those questions of. Okay, now the beautiful thing about LinkedIn is you can put up a post, you can ask a question, and you'll start to get the answers, and you'll start to find some of those people who you can learn from.
Beautiful message. I think this was the beautiful end note to this conversation. Time just flying. We are already on for 50 minutes, and it was a beautiful journey with you here, Derek, in the LinkedIn world for the young people. So I hope we could give some tips, and please watch this video back. It's available on replay on the YouTube channel that I'm featuring on the website. So make sure you're watching it back. And if you have questions, just as Derek said, put it under the feed, under this conversation, and we will get back to you. I will make sure that Derek gets all the questions and he will answer them after this, even after the live. So thank you very much, Derek. I hope you will have a beautiful day in Australia, and I'm really, really happy to have you again on board. And I think it was a valuable 50 minutes.
Great. Thank you very much, Andrea. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I hope I've added some interest to the audience.
Thank you very much, Derek. See you at another time. And thank you for the audience for watching. Bye-bye.
My pleasure. Thank you. Bye, everybody.